So next we're going to practice actually sewing with a suture and a needle driver. Let me go over how to load a needle. The best way is to load it while it's still in the needle container, because that keeps you from getting poked. Notice that I'm going straight in and pretty much clamping it right smack in the middle of that curve. There's a whole amount of physics, there's a whole lot of physics that goes into making a needle driver and making a needle with that curve. And the whole idea is for you to be there. There's a big tendency to do this, and what that does is with the torque, it bends your needle and ultimately you no longer have a curve. So pretty much in the middle, maybe just a little bit behind the middle if you need to. Take note that it's pretty much flush with the end. You really don't want to pick it up like this. That looks very inelegant, but also in gynecology, because we're sewing pedicles, this is going to prevent you from getting close enough to the uterus, and so you're going to get a bleeder. So practice looking elegant. There's a whole reason for it. Okay? So what we're going to practice is our running suture. This is what we use on fascia. It's one of the most common things that you'll ever use. So there's already an incision that I made on my yellow foam board, and a really good thing to do is to actually mark this when you're first beginning. How you mark it depends on how big the needle is. So this is a CT1. It's probably something that I would want to put about 1 centimeter away from the incision and 1 centimeter apart. So here's the incision. I want to be about here. And the whole idea is to make your sutures as symmetrical and parallel as possible, because that follows the rules of surgery, which is that you want to approximate but not strangulate, and you want to approximate the layers very exactly. So when you're first starting, it's not a bad idea on your foam to go ahead and mark them. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to have to put this in and tie a knot. We have a tendency to go into tissue this way. You want to go in perpendicular. So I'm going to go into that space and try to come out exactly where my other dot is. So remember, we just learned how to tie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over and cross it. And now I have my suture. And in my mind, I actually do say, whoa, Nelly, get your guns up, lay it down with an X. Okay, so now I have my knot, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to the exact same place, and I'm going to come out right here at the next dot. So really I'm sewing at a diagonal. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. So I'm going in right here, and I'm coming out right here. There's a tendency to pick up the needle by the tip. Don't do that. It breaks or bends the tip. So really just use your wrist, and then you pick it up and you turn your wrist, and there it goes. So this is going to be your starting stitch. What you're going to do now is you're going to lay it across and see how it matches that little dot. So you're going to go back in there, and you're going to come out at the very next one. What this does is it brings the tissue beautifully perpendicularly together. So you're going to do about 4 of these. And at the 4th one, what we're going to do is we're going to change to a running lock stitch. So you notice that I've gone out of my way to keep the sutures very horizontal, perpendicular to the incision, horizontal to each other. From here we're going to convert to a running lock stitch. So I'm going to bring the suture down here so that when I go in there, I actually come out in the loop. And you're going to have to actually tug on it in this direction, otherwise it'll look very sloppy. What this does is it offers more hemostasis. This is the stitch that we use on the uterus. So you're going to come out here. And now I'm out of dots. I'm going to have to imagine this in my mind. So if I do this, this is a running stitch. If I do this, this is a running lock. So make sure that when you're doing the running lock, you actually have it pulled over. So you see how, even though they're not parallel to the running stitch, the tension is still going to be exactly the same, and the lock gives you just a little bit more tension without strangulating the tissue. When you get to the end of your suture, or at the end of your incision, what you're going to do is you're going to go in and come out pretty much straight across. And now you're going to pretend that it's the exact same thing. Willy-nilly, get your guns up, and then you're going to tie it. Okay? Etc.